And we're live in 3, 2, 1. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to this podcast. In fact, my name is Ada.
I'm Gua.
My name is Ploy.
I'm John.
My peers and I recently attended an event at Sunway University, Malaysia. It's called PHAM, also known as the Planetary Health Annual Meeting. So this happened in 2024, probably a month or two ago. We're here to discuss why you should care about planet by giving you 3 short insights.
Essentially, time is of the essence and we are running out of time. The first dimension we look into is our footprint.
What do you mean by footprint? Well, I think when we talk about footprint, we're talking about our human footprint on the natural systems of the world, how we're affecting the world, how we're affecting the plants, the animals, the climate. What is it that we're doing?
I would say plastic is one of our biggest footprint because not only do we rely on nature to provide us with air, water, what we need, we also take raw materials away from the nature and create something that damages the nature. So nature has been contaminated, and one of our biggest, most, daily footprints is plastic, and it's very harmful towards the environment. It generates a lot of harmful materials into the soil, especially when it cannot be destroyed or when it cannot be decomposed in such a short amount of time. It usually takes 400 to 500 years for plastic to be decomposed. So definitely, it's one of our biggest footprints that I've observed. And it's not only in Malaysia or a few countries, it's in a lot of countries.
Yeah, I do agree on your point, but plastic is invented to reduce the forest
Cutting.
the forest cutting. So I think it's kind of like has
How though? How does it reduce the forest? The cutting of trees.
from my understanding, before the time plastic is invented, people use paper bags, right, to carry the things.
Right.
Yeah, and they have an awareness that, there's many deforestation, so we have to invent another innovations in order to reduce that deforestations. And wow, plastic is come up. Yeah, we cannot deny the use of plastic in our daily life.
But I heard that the first time plastic was invented, it was invented to be reused.
But
now it's being misused.
So in order to solve the problem of plastic, we have to find common ground, not just communicate that all types of plastic are bad for the environment, or these plastics, they cannot be used, should not be used, because the nature of plastic to begin with started with good intentions. And to solve that issue, we must still preserve those good intentions and also preserve the materials or the way we make it so it's good for the environment and it does not create harm, whether in the process of creating plastic or generating plastic from reused materials.
ooh,
Did they give us some potential solution in that session, or is there anything promising there?
We also have to be careful about plastic because if we reduce it too much and go back to paper, we've used paper before in the Industrial Revolution and it actually turned out to be quite harmful.
may I ask you guys, like, what do you perceive paper container is? How do you perceive paper container? It is good or bad, in your guys' opinion?
Better than plastic. That's what it seems like.
Yeah.
Oh, it feels better,
Mm-hmm.
but when looking into it, the use of it is less than plastic because it can only be made into like paper bag,
Mm-hmm.
and you cannot contain some
Wet
the
food.
resilient liquid. Yeah, and your food got spoiled.
True. Some science of it says that, paper is more renewable, it's compostable, and there's a long tradition for it as a packaging material. There are so many things that maybe gives paper a better view compared to plastics, but chemicals present in this paper are not always safe and they cannot have contact with food. So if we talk in the big picture, I don't think paper can fully replace plastic.
Knowing that you've attended PHAM, what should be the way forward? Or what should be the path to take between finding a replacement for plastic and changing people's behavior?
I would say both way is essentials, yet it's kind of hard for now to go for both because in order to create the new thing that replace the plastic, it needs more technological advancements. Even the paper container that we perceive as safe and good for our planet is still unsafe. Yeah, at the same time, in order to change people behavior, it's not that easy because we have grown up for more than 20 years, but we still sometimes neglect preserving environmental something.
It's just so convenient, right, to use plastic?
Exactly, yeah. So in order to change people behavior, I think it's need like the whole transformation since the first step of the people as well, which is education since the elementary school.
I think it's safe to say that our first insight revolves around the footprint that humanity creates and our urgency to address those problems, whether it be global warming, whether it be climate change, whether it be plastic, or the impact we make on the environment.
Our second insight is health, and it may sound very broad and diverse, but it's the physical health that is impacted and mental health that it results from the planetary circumstances.
Let's talk about physical health. Who here has been impacted physically?
Me.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
How so?
Yeah, I got itchy nose during this day thanks to PM 2.5. And normally my health is very strong. I have ever get that itchy nose before.
Right.
But this day I have to wear a mask every time I went outside. Even though just like going to the markets and get back, I have to wear the mask as well because like there's a lot of particles in the air. Yeah. It's really affect.
Not for COVID-19 anymore.
I don't think so.
But that is apparent, right? How PM 2.5 or pollution affects you and you feel it right away. But sometimes something deeper that might not be as apparent but affects us maybe even worse, but yet to come.
Talking about particles in the air, the environment profoundly influences human health. So the effects are both done directly and indirectly based on the scientists and everything that the professors have vouched for in this event. They say that chest surgeons frequently encounter lung-related health problems. And this is not unusual, obviously. We have health problems, we have lung problems from time to time. But the most alarming thing about this is that lung-related health problems have been found in individuals who have never smoked cigarettes before. So in the past, they're not supposed to have these issues and they don't have these health concerns, but now in the current time, they do. They've been found in non-smokers because of air pollution and because of the companies, perhaps oil and gas companies that do their factories, they place their construction places near where people live, and that's ruining the health, and that's making the lungs have perhaps black dots.
This is the first time I've heard of this. First time from PHAM, of course. I think there needs to be more research to be able to say that, yes, these black dots on our lungs are coming from air pollution. But I feel like we don't need to know air pollution is causing these black dots because we already know that it's bad.
Also, like, this can go even worse too. Sometimes we feel like, for us, right, it started to feel more apparent to us when we are 20-something.
Right.
But for some babies that are born now, they might have affected since they are
being being the fetus as well.
Yeah. And that is what the doctors in the event talk about too, that how the babies can be called, quote unquote,
First-hand smoker.
as a baby.
Right.
So when a pregnant lady breathes polluted air, it harms the fetus, and a polluted city has newborns becoming smokers.
I like the idea of like, oh, what if we live in a polluted area? Can we just like live that for a while and like breathe some fresh air? Would that help? And apparently the doctor said people might think that would work, but actually it's not reversible like that. How you breathe the air in, yeah. Breathing fresh air in wouldn't take away that.
It's irreversible, you're saying.
Yeah.
I was thinking that personally, I think that Gen Z might not want to have baby in this kind of planet.
Oh?
Yeah, because it's of course not for the children 100% if we do not do something. Yeah. And I would say pollution is one cause, but aside from the pollutions, there are other factors that influence Gen Z to not think to have baby as well. For example, like the stabilities of the countries
Right.
or the economic situations as well. I think it's kind of combinations of many factors, and in terms of environments, it could be one of the major causes. I
One
would
of
say,
the major causes.
yeah.
As we talk about this, I can sense that your guys' mood kind of toned down a little bit.
Depressed, I would say. Not that depressed in super extreme bad way, but it's just like, I think environmental issues is really complex issues. By doing only one person, it cannot change the whole planet. It needs very huge, mass, crowded collaborations.
You feel like it's long way to go to reach that, right?
I would say yes.
I definitely feel like there's still a long way to tackle all these complex issues. There have been times when I felt quite hopeless. I heard that people want to take action, and they are taking action, but it's not enough.
Yeah, to vouch from the event, many scientists and professionals have said that stress frontline people who deal with these crises on the first hand, they may feel great urgency. They may feel more personal and more responsibility towards the problem and feel like what they're doing is never enough. And the worst is yet to come, that there's no grand solution to everything. And people don't really seem to care. By people, it means probably the people they deal with or people in that area, not people like us. And they also find entrenched setbacks because every time they're trying to solve something, there's an obstacle to it.
Right.
And this maybe can range between outrageousness and depressed tones or depressed extremes.
And eventually they might want to quit, or they feel burnout and just feel numb with the problem, and
Yeah, they
can
ignore.
turn to be ignored. And from the event, one of the speakers mentioned this term that I find interesting. It's called eco-anxiety, which means how we feel depressed or distressed about environmental issue.
Right.
Or it can be called, quote unquote, chronic fear of environmental doom.
Doom.
Yeah.
We do.
But as we stuck with these emotions, right, we feel depressed and hopeless of tackling this issue. So the speaker also highlighted the reason why we feel this bad because we care and love the planet and the living system.
I'm touching.
So that's why she mentioned another term, which is eco-compassion. So if we think of it that way, we feel more motivated of going forward with it.
Changing the term from eco-anxiety, our feeling from eco-compassion.
Yeah, like maybe that will highlight our love and care about the planet. More like we should not forget about taking care of ourselves as we try to make some action to tackle and meet our value. Along the way that you go, you feel all these emotions, but sometimes you forget to take care of yourself.
True, because environmental problems are not towards an individual. but it's inclusive to everyone, and no one deserves a mental health diagnosis when they feel distressed about the environment. We must have consideration, empathy, and maybe sympathy for people. And young people, on the other hand, they're also starting to worry about the future and how the planet cannot be lived in anymore. They quote unquote have said at the event that the future's frightening, or maybe humanity is doomed, and these sort of ideas come up a lot.
Instead of focusing on negative emotions that might pull you down, you focus on your initial intention, which is like the love
and care for the planet.
So that encourage you and nurture you to keep going.
To be honest, once we sitting here together and we use the word eco-compassion and we know that there's people who care the same thing as me, I feel I'm more courage to do more. But once I get back to my home, it's not everyone at my home or my community is gonna have the same interest as you guys. Yeah, so I think it's what depending on people we live with as well.
Right. So on to our third insight, communication. How does PHAM think about it?
We're all passionate and wanna
see the same picture.
Yeah, see the same picture. But once you go back home, you feel discouraged because you realize that not everyone would feel the same.
Yeah.
Especially like your family that you live with.
I would say the level of awareness play an important role because, at least for me, using a lot of plastic is not good.
We dig deep into these issues, right? We learn about it, we look up about it and embrace these issues. And maybe we are having our own bubble of this knowledge and awareness, right? And maybe we tend to think that others would have the same understanding. So maybe we talk to them, but we get different reaction. In the event, PHAM, there's one scientist that talk about how they can digest the information, which is like very academic and scientific, right? To us, general people, to understand. So I think she mentioned the key points. How do we make that data to be simple and accessible to our target audience? And also like there's this one organization talk about 12 principles for climate change communication for 51% project.
Oh,
Yeah.
I think I remember this one. It's 12 principles on how to communicate about climate change. How could you talk about climate change or planetary health in this case so that people will listen? First, you just got to talk about it. And one of them is just like, you got to lighten up. You got to use humor. And I see that as another way of engaging with different groups of people, because with some people, you got to talk to them with data. With some people, you got to go through humor. With some people, maybe you have to create some sort of media or movies to talk to them, educate them, raise awareness about climate change. So all these principles could be adopted and it could be used to talk to basically anyone.
We are the majority, and it's time to act like the majority. Of course, there are obstacles in many different parties that we are trying to reach out to, and students of business, law, philosophy, sustainability, they all need to become part of this initiative. And I'm pretty sure that people in at least our generation, they're quite aware, they're quite educated about the problems that come with the environment. One of the ways that we can move towards communicating this issue is including sustainability into school curriculums, because we have to admit there is limited space about sustainability in education. Some of them have reluctance to teach about planetary health. So if student demands become a global problem, then we can create some sort of change, invoke some sort of advocacy for sustainability in education.
I heard one speaker that talk about it, that actually we might feel like we are minority, but we are the majority. We are somewhere in the world.
We are the majority, but we're isolated.
Yeah,
we're
maybe-
separated from each other.
Maybe we don't realize that others also have the same awareness and passion about it. Don't act alone. Work together. If any of you that listen to this feels the same, maybe it's time to reach out to others and collaborate.
Wow.
Oh.
If we don't change, we will be changed in the future.
The first sections, it's cover the topic about our footprint, how our actions and convenience potentially affect our planet. And in order to mitigate the problems, we need the huge collaborations between every stakeholders.
As for the second session, we touched upon the topic of air pollution generated from human footprint. We talk about how that affects our lungs and there are irreversible consequences.
On to the third session, which is the last one. It is on how we communicate outside of our bubble to other people and to get them on board with us. Also, to leverage that, we can turn to each other and collaborate together.
This podcast is our advocacy for change, and planetary communication should be our 10,000 steps per day. So with this, we leave you with those insights, and we want you to be the change you want to see in the world as change makers.